started at almost at zero. So it gives the impression of something big. But one should not exaggerate, because in many situations, really you need the military capacities than police capacities, point one. And in terms of the resource available, police is much harder to find than troops, for obvious reasons, because they are fully used in peacetime. And when we talk about police, we have to talk about two different things. We have to talk about the formed police units, which for crowd control, and the individual police officers to build up police. And there, the issue of quality is essential, because there's nothing more difficult than to transfer knowledge in the police. And so I think we should trade their quantity for quality. Third, how can a country like Canada, in situations where obviously we're never going to have the hundreds of thousands of, and I'm not advocating for the hundreds of thousands. First, I think on the military side, let's take a concrete example of that you mentioned, of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I think in Congo, a force, increasing numbers and numbers is not the answer. Anyway, it's moot now with the position of the government of the DRC. I think if there was a much smaller mission, but a much more mobile mission, with an effective quick reaction force, that in it, and with some troops from developed countries, that in itself has a lot of a serious impact. When you think of the European operation at the time of the elections, the number of European troops that were actually operational fighting troops deployed in Congo was minute. It was a couple of companies operational at any particular time. But there was such a fuss made around it that there was a perception that the whole might of European armies was over Congo. This was largely PSYOP, but it helped create a stable environment during the elections. Now, I'm not going to contradict what I was saying about deterrence and bluff, and there is some element of risk there, and you must not promise that you're going to deliver more than you can deliver. But there is, in political terms, an impact of having troops from a highly developed country and having them mobile and in a position to intervene in difficult situations quickly. And I think the other contribution, frankly, is of a political nature. That is, in a place like Congo, there is really a need for more engagement with the government of the DRC to discuss with that government what is the future of international engagement in Congo in a respectful way. I think probably after the election of the president, there was not enough realization that the relationship between the UN and the Congolese leadership had to change, and it changed in a very fundamental way, and I think that was not sufficiently factored in. But there has to be more respect, but sometimes also more firmness. And I think there, when countries that care about Congo, like Canada, coordinate with other countries to develop positions on what are the expectations, how can the international community help, but also what are its expectations on issues such as governance and a range of issues, building up the institutions of Congo, because that's the fundamental challenge for Congo, is to have institutions. That's what will protect civilians in the longer run. I think there Canada can probably make a significant contribution. So military, very targeted capacities, which would enormously enhance the credibility of the mission, and politically, serious engagement and help in institutional building. I think that would be my my plea.
5 minutes, Bill.
Sure. Thank you. I agree with essentially 102% of what Jean-Marie just said, so it leaves me very little leeway to say something new. As to the first question, I think there was maybe a false juxtaposition between Chapter 7 mandate authorizations and robust peacekeeping, which is another reason why I think it is, I agree that it's a mistake to reify the notion of robust peace operations as something somehow different from what a good complex peace operation in an intramural war does to implement the peace. Those Chapter 7 authorizations were done to make it easier for an SRSG or a force commander to authorize defense of the mandate, to enforce a peace accord in an impartial fashion. They are not intended to enable the United Nations to wage wholesale war in that country, which is what disturbs me about the way in which recent doctrine and concept papers are coming out of even DPKO juxtaposing peacekeeping and peace enforcement. Because Chapter 7 allows enforcement elements to be woven into a peacekeeping operation in a delicate political balance, as Mr. Guéhenno was saying, that still does not amount to unbridled authority to use force and, say, nuclear weapon. I mean, it just doesn't. And I think it's unfortunate that the phrase has come to be synonymous with world war. It's not. It shouldn't be. Jake, on the question of police, just to build a little bit on what Jean-Marie said, and as most of you know, about 45% of deployed UN police are now in foreign police units. And I think that's partly because foreign police units have been a convenient way of recruiting bodies, because states get paid for them in the same way they get paid for military units. And that led to tremendous quality control problems, which are still being rectified in terms of new doctrine, new training, and new specifications for what FPUs are supposed to do before they deploy and on the ground. And eventually that's going to pay off, and the same sort of thing is being done with individual police, but they are a scarce resource. So there's a capacity issue, right? No matter how capable the police are that are recruited for operations, there will never be enough capacity to replace the military. There just are not enough police in the world. Those numbers that were cited, that Jean-Marie cited for New York, a little bit of math, I think it's 4.3 officers per thousand. So,
far from that.
Yeah. And then lastly, in DRC, post-elections and the need for more both respect for the government and more firmness with it, MONUC found itself hitching its forces, its support forces, to a rather rickety, in fact predatory wagon, if you will, in the form of the FARDC, the Congolese Armed Forces, that were unvetted, untrained, and unpaid. And it somehow took them a year to kind of figure this out. And they finally have, but it took a long time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting session. Now it's lunch. It's served just across here on another room. And I ask you to reconvene at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you.